Greetings, sir! We are Kapwa Dangal ng Bayan. Our group consists of
Nicole R. Arevalo,
Catherine Bello,
Carl Angelo Conciso,
Christian M. Ignacio,
Alison Kapitbahay,
Alina Princess D. Malaban,
Oliver C. Quiroz,
Reverend Joy R. Silasiban,
Lawrence Andrew B. Santos,
Lorenzo M. Tagalog Jr.
we were assigned to design a simple multi-form Java swing application that will demonstrate a CRUD application for the student's personal information.
Our CRUD application consists of 5 Java files, including main class and subclasses. The first file, called the main class, is where we declare all the methods and code for the subclasses. The subclasses are for logging in, adding new record, updating records, and deleting a record for our application.
we will start with the login J button. The first thing that we did is to add an action listener, so it can perform a lot of commands. After that, we created a separate child class, which is the login class that will hold all of the methods and syntax for the user's login form. Running the program will automatically show a message dialog that says, "Log in to continue," meaning that the user is required to log in to gain access to the add, update, and delete record button for the CRUD application. Clicking the login button will show a login form panel that is inherited from the login class and instantiated in the main class.
The second thing that we did is to add all the required components to the design tab of the login class, including one JText field for the user's username, one JPassword field for the user's password, and one checkbox that allows the user to toggle between showing and hiding the entered password. We also implemented 2 J buttons that allow the user to log in and cancel their login session, as well as J labels that specify each individual component, including the ID number that will be shown.
The default username and password is set to admin, so if the txt username and password is equal to admin, it will display a message dialog that states "Logged in successfully," else it would state that your credentials are not valid. We've also added a J button so that the user can show or hide their password. The J button's level will also change into logout whenever the user succeeds upon logging in. If the user succeeds logging in and provided the required and default password and username, the Add New Record button will be enabled, allowing the user to create a new record. Finally, we call the login class, which is a child class inside the main class.
After the user has successfully logged in, they may now add a new record. Only the Add New Record button has been enabled because it is required to have existing records to be able to update and delete. Clicking the Add New Record button will open a new form panel that is inherited from the Add New class. The design of the panel consists of 3 JText fields for the first, middle, and last name, a calendar for students' birthday, 2 J combo boxes for the college and course, and lastly, a register button. To be able to append rows into the J table, we added an action listener to the register button.
First, we validate if the text fields are empty by using an if-else statement. The condition that we use is if text field .getText open close parenthesis .is blank open close parenthesis. If the user pressed the register button with an empty text field, the program will show a warning message stating the text field should not be empty. Please fill it out correctly. Else, if the text fields aren't empty, we use a for loop statement to append every data to its column. We declare a one-dimensional object array for row data with 8 columns since the data is also 8.
For the student's birth date, we use a date formatter to change the format. For example, from Friday, April 6, 21:37:23, Singapore time 2022 to 06, April 2022. Then we converted the date of birth into local by using local date birth date is equals to date of birth .get date to instant at zone ID system default to local date to make it accurate to our time zone. To determine the age of the student in years, we subtracted their birth date to the current date, which is returned using the method localDate.now. The method used in getting the age is user age is equals to period that between birth date current date.
For the student's middle name, if the text field for the middle name is blank, we've set the text of txt middle name to NA, since not all students have middle names. Before the program starts to append the data to its columns, we used an if statement to validate if the age of the student is not less than 0. If the age is valid, the raw data will be added successfully, and else, the program will show a message dialog saying enter a valid date. After the user is done adding a new record, the following buttons, which are the update record and delete record, will now be enabled. This time, if the user wants to update a record, he or she must select a record first. Otherwise, it will result in a warning message. This warning message will serve as a guide for the user to know that he or she needs to select a record first before proceeding to the updating of the record. Upon selecting a record and proceeding to click the update record, the user will be transferred to a child frame from the update record class. Aesthetically, it is almost the same with the add new class in both design and objects.
First of all, we validated whether the user selected a record through an if-else statement that if TBL student info that gets selected row is equal to -1, then we will provide a warning message through J option pane that says there is no selected row. Else, the user is now able to proceed through clicking the update record button to open the update record frame, where the data of the user selected record is displayed to each of their respective components. We use the action listener in the update button, which validates if the fields for last name and first name are empty, because if so, we will generate a warning message that says, please complete the form. Else, we will simply get the value of the entire row of recorded data through declaring an integer type variable, which is selected row that consists of data of the entire row or record which is selected in the table through main.tbl student info that gets selected row, where main is the main class.
After this, the program will validate again whether there is a middle name or not. If there is no middle name data, it will reflect in the middle name text field NA. There is another validation following this, and that is the validation for the year. If the year is greater than 0 and is less than 2022, then it will proceed to the setText method or the saving functions of update button to save the changes from row index 1 to 7. As you can notice here, the row index 0 is not included since it is the ID of the record. Next to this, we provide a for loop to make the data in each cell at the center with the use of setCellRenderer method. We also include the dispose method so that once the operation of the update button is done, the entire update record class will be closed.
Like the update button, you are not allowed to delete a record without selecting a specific row. A dialog box will appear saying, there is no selected row, so the user needs to select a record first so he or she can delete a row. Once the user selects a row and clicks the delete button, all of the details of the selected student will be displayed on a different frame, and the text fields and combo boxes in the delete frame are disabled. Another delete button is present at the delete row frame, and if the user clicks the button, a confirm dialog box will show asking the user, "Are you sure you want to delete this data?" If the user clicks no, nothing will happen, but if the user clicks yes, the selected row will be deleted and a message dialog box will appear saying, "The selected row has been deleted." And the row that was selected will be deleted using the method removeRow, open parenthesis, close parenthesis.
The logout J button is executed based on the login J button, and it appears in the same J button as the login J button once the user has successfully logged in. First, we added a string action parameter inside the enable components method that will enable the login J button while disabling the add new record J button, update record J button, and delete record J button that is defined by logout. We also set the visibility of the J table to false so that when the user logs out, all of the students' information is not displayed. The logout J button will restore all of the login form's default settings.
We also define a distinct method for exit J button, which is the first method after the main constructor. First, we declare an integer variable called confirmation, which will store the returned integer from J option pane confirm dialog, which asks the user if they are sure they want to exit or close the entire Java application frame, asking, "Are you sure you want to exit?" If the user responds with a yes value or 0, the frame will be exited using system.exit 0. Else, if the return value is no, it will do nothing.
Based on the program run, the main class should consist of 4 separate classes, which are the class for login, class for adding a new row, class for updating a row, and the class for deleting a row. The first step was to create a two one-dimensional string arrays to store our column headers and to handle a selected course. And then we instantiate all of the child class and make it as a private variable. We also declared all of the JComponents variable as a global variable, such as JButton, JLabel, JTable, and all of the data type variables that are needed for the whole application. We add a window event listener to the main class to confirm whether the user is sure that they want to exit the frame. We also add a JOption confirm dialog warning that says, "Are you sure you want to exit?" As a verification, if the user returns yes or 0, the program will exit, else it will do nothing when closed.
Every logging in, logging out, adding a new row, updating a new row, and deleting a new row function is created under the main method in the main class, and they are called inside the J buttons along with other syntaxes. Also, we created an enable components method which will be called inside every J buttons function, and it will be enable or disable all of the components that are presented in the GUI.
This method consists of if-else statement conditions that are defined as a string action, and every variable that will be called is a string data type. Overall, all methods, instantiations, and event handling are performed within the main class. Also known as the parent class, this class is important since without it, none of our GUI application's child classes will work.
From the main class to the other subclasses, our CRUD application Java GUI is designed using Pamantasan Ng Cabuyao imaginary record system. To make it more pleasant to the user's eyes, we use the red, green, yellow, and gray palette. In addition, we created a title header with the PNC logo next to it. The size and boundaries of J components, such as J tables, J buttons, and J frames are also well thought out during the group's meeting. On the other hand, the main result was excellent, and the methods and syntax that were planned were executed successfully.
And that concludes the presentation of our midterm CRUD application project in computer programming 2. Again, we are Kapwa Dangal ng Bayan. Thank you for watching.